Everybody, welcome to another podcast of Sedona Galactic Guidance. I'm here with Arcturus Raw, and we don't really have a script, but we did come up with. I've been most recently, and my name's Mark. I'm your host, and most recently been having a lot of things come up about demonic possession with people, with with systems that are going on. So anyway, Arcturus Raw. Lives in Sedona. He's got, tell him your website.
Raw-key.com, and it's bioresonance and getting the avatar back in its light resonance, not just through meditation, but through crystalline, Atlantean, and Arcturian systems that help you to come back into your own.
Absolutely.
That's what you're here. That's what you actually came here for.
And again, we're talking still. Our bodies are vehicles, avatars. Your tool to use to have some fun here on planet Earth and learn something. We're all immortal. Everybody has that sense, and if you don't have that sense, expand your beliefs out a little bit. But again, everybody here is an immortal spirit, having some fun, learning something from an immortal point of view. Many of us believe, like myself, I picked up a book back in the 1990s that was channeled in from the Pleiadians, and I at that moment said, "That's it. That's where I come from. I come from the Pleiades," and I'm without question was absolutely sure. I felt like I had wrote the information in that book to myself, so I could understand who in the heck I was and what am I here for. And then, of course, what was uncovered was all of the deception and corruption that this whole planet system has been going through for eons and eons. So again, Arcturus Raw, again, I'd love to talk to you about demonic possession. I'd love to talk to you about where you think your home planet is and why, and let's move forward from there.
Okay, so I have some conspiracy type thing in what the last years we had the Kool-Aid era, and the Kool-Aid jab era. Everybody knows what that means. And I read something in a book that was documented, I think, 90 or 100 years ago, roughly. And it was members of what they say, was the Vatican. And it was a group meeting of the bishops and all the elite
Cardinals.
Yeah, and it was documented. So I'm just regurgitating what I read in a book of, I think, Rudolf Steiner, The Fall of the Dark Spirit. Very interesting book, very deep, it gave me the chills. And this is how I will start this off before we go into demonic possessions and what's actually behind that. It was devised, and you might find that interesting, at the table by the high elite ones running their belief system. We must invent something like a vaccination to prevent mankind to get any spiritual ideas or spiritual freedoms of independence and individuation of spirit, soul, and the body.
Or to suppress that.
Yeah.
As if you have spiritual independence, but we're going to suppress it by saying we'll take care of your body, not you.
To put that in you and give up the right of free will, leave that up to us, so we can dampen it a little bit, so we can run the show a little bit longer. Yeah. And here's the interesting part. They said we must find people that are dark-spirited enough to invent such a vaccination. And that's where demonic possessions comes from in Archons. There's also another show by, I think, Paul Wegener. Very interesting. The voices in my head don't like me, about demonic possession. And another quote, and then we dive right into the topic. When I watched The Exorcist, the demon that had possessed the girl told the padre, "It's no use in fighting us, for we are many." So it's a legion. It's a collective. It's not just one thing. And then a healer that I spoke to named Gary Blyer, who does advanced cell trading, very successful in healing, healed over thousands of people by resetting the codes in the system and the trauma and whatever was written into your matrix the first 7 years of your life. Because you're open, you have no defense the first 7 years. And he said every organism has a spiritual counterpart. So every parasite, virus or bacteria has the spiritual counterpart on the other side. And that's where demonic possessions come in. So for we are many has to do with the collective of the bacteria that was probably in that girl. So if you have an infestation going on, and the Hopis and many natives said that the average Westerner has probably about, you can say, 200 to 400 micropossessions. That has to do with the collective of organisms that do not belong in your body. I know there are probiotics and positive bacteria that work with you, that's a collective, that are governed by this. But there are parasitic entities that are gateways for archons. They can't manifest. So people say, I tell people, don't be scared of reptilians or Anunnakians or anything, or Nibiru returning. Everything that is not here is not manifest. Just to anchor in and not get lost in spirit so much, because we had that even in Sedona where I meet many, it's all crystal and all out there, nobody's grounded. We need to ground in the knowledge of what we have. So in my studies, I found out that when somebody is bipolar or schizophrenic, and this is a suggestion, an observation. I'm not a doctor. I don't have any MD, PhD, or whatever. This is just what makes sense here and what doesn't make sense. So when I see cases when people are bipolar, that's already half a possession. When they flip, they go ape, and it's all AWOL and out of control. They curse, they go crazy, and they flip out, and the next moment they're normal. That is when your bacteria, as in parasitic infestation in the body, takes control of your central nervous system. And there's science that has proven that. And there's many books you can investigate. Also on my channel, Arcturus, I talk about parasites in humans, where in-depth breakdown, where schizophrenics say they hear voices. These are bacteria emulating your cognitive perception, your belief system, and your, the cortex that perceives audio, how you perceive words. These bacteria can telepathically send you impulses that will give you whatever your belief system is in your system.
Let me play off onto that. There is a book I just read called Fast This Way by Dave Asprey. He wrote a book called Bulletproof, where he speaks about exactly the same thing, that it's our gut that's telling us, eat this food, use this. Our gut is maneuvering us around, actually telling us what and what not to eat, why to eat it. It actually, it's almost so intelligent. Well, the gut's one of those.
It's the second brain.
It's the second brain. It produces more serotonin in the body than the actual brain does. So it's produced in the gut. More neuroreceptors in our gut than in our brains.
Yeah.
So we have our second brain is down here, but it can be controlling people. And as you said, I'm playing off on this, but again, there's just some leading edge people that are saying that the gut itself is the one, to do self-reflection. Why is my gut telling me this? Why is my gut saying this? And I put my hand on my gut or put my hand on my heart when I ask self-reflecting questions like that. So go ahead. Thank you. I just wanted to put that in. It's a fantastic read, because fasting stops the parasites. It's one of the fastest ways for me to actually eliminate parasites, besides doing a parasite cleanse, which I usually have clove, wormwood, and black walnut hull tincture in my cupboard up there. And I take those on a regular basis just for maintenance, to keep out the parasitical beings in my body.
So
go ahead.
There's like a little, you can say, trend in Sedona going around. It's a funny trend, but it's a very valuable trend. It's people were talking about enemas. And we looked at how these coffee enemas are not actually doing squat. They're not really doing anything.
Give you a buzz though.
Yeah, so caffeine. So here's the idea. What in your intestines does the bacteria as a parasitic entity need to breathe? CO2.
Mhm.
So if you do, and this is a tip also for your audience, an oxygen enema, you suffocating the parasites.
Mm.
And I heard reports from people that look normal, Slim Jim, everything cool, worms coming out, 20, 30, like spaghetti. And they're like, holy, what the heck is coming out of me? And they're getting better. They're less depressed. They have less negative thoughts. That's all related. So the recipe, for those that are interested, is 1 gallon with 5 drops of hydroperoxide, 35%, food grade. And you up the drops according to what die-off level you can handle, as in detox, as in Herxheimer, when you're herxing. You know, herxing is when you get nauseated and sick as a dog, then you're overwhelmed from the debris and the die-off. Then you tone it down. So basically 1 gallon of lukewarm water, so you're not shocking your system. You want to be having the same temperature as your intestines. You buy your own kit, you do it yourself, and you flush your system once a year. And people get better. It's also the most effective diet, like the fastest. When I started doing it, I lost 8 pounds in 2.5 days. That is just debris. Undigested stuff that sits in our gut, because we don't eat the fiber every day. Like the animals, no, they eat fiber to cleanse. So you eat your pizza, you go to bed, well, you're not putting any fiber after that. So there is debris sitting there. And I studied a Russian company named Colonix, Colonix, and it's a treatment with psyllium husk and herbs, where you do the entire system top to bottom. What it does is the swelling of the psyllium husk basically extends the tract of your digestive system. And this is where regular enemas can't go, is the crap sits in the crevices of the lining of it. And when you extend it, that comes out.
I take psyllium every day.
Yeah.
Every night before I go to bed.
Yeah, that keeps your gut clean. I mean, that keeps your digestive tract
every
ascending,
night
descending, colon, and that's...
And collagen. I mix it together. Collagen, psyllium, and one other thing. Something called calm, which is just magnesium. So.
And I've been doing it, and my cleanse was pretty clear. Like, I had no worms coming out. I don't want to go too much into detail to freak people out. Make their own.
Let's get back to demonic and possession. But again,
but that's
if I had worms coming out, I would say there's some demonic something going on. But it's really spiritually the vibrational frequency that our vehicles are at that attracts these negative entities.
Decay and rot.
Correct.
That attracts negative entities.
Expanding the frequency of the physical body, raising the frequency of the physical body,
cleanses and clears the body.
Of course. So it's symbiotic. One has to do to the other. So one has to, in order to get rid of demonic possession, would you say doing a complete physical vehicle cleanse?
Yes.
Is one
not
of the most
only having your mind,
things.
not only having your mind checked,
of course.
You know, that's when people do, let's say, medicinal adventures, and they have a bad trip that has to do with how clean were you going in. If you open the barrier between the floodgates of the brain blood barrier that sits here, you want to make sure that the temple is clear. And a lot of people have forgotten. The temple
as in the body itself. That's for those
Greg
again are wondering what a temple is. We call our bodies a temple, much like the Hindus.
The temple means body. Temple means body. That's the vehicle. And Greg Braden has found that out in his book, The God Code, that it says God Elohim eternal within the body. That's what within the Gattaca Code. Like a script written that you can translate into Hebrew text. And that translates into that. So that's like, wow. You can literally read the copyright notice from source that created this. That's in our Gattaca Code. That's so amazing. Just by having the idea for cross-referencing Gattaca codes with Hebrew text and Hebrew numbers, and they make sense. So back to demonic possessions is Yeah, people think they're vegan and they're safe, and they're more at risk actually than the meat eaters. And I'll tell you why that is because if you go to Whole Foods or any other stores, they keep the green moist. That is a petri dish for parasites, especially for lettuce. Lettuce is the worst because in the crevice, you can't get them out. They'll sit there, and it's probably partially moldy. They did tests where you can go out with your own measuring kit and do it yourself. Hide it, put it behind a counter, and if you have mold growing in the next 3 or 4 days on that little petri dish, well, then that place isn't clean.
Yeah.
It's not clean. So what you do is when you buy green in the store, wash it at home, wash it in vinegar or whatever, clear it out. Lettuce you have to soak. And a lot of people don't do that. They rinse it a little bit, they eat. Well, guess what? The processed food has parasites. And green has a lot of that. And they're not checking that. They're not going in there and doing tests and reading what's. They're putting it all there and they're keeping it moist. And from farmer's knowledge, you know when you get the salad from the field, you make the salad, you eat the salad. You don't store it and keep it moist. So even the refrigerator, that's just a little myth that keeping it cool stops the decay for a minute, but it's not ultra healthy for the food unless you have crystals in your refrigerator or magnets or something that's healing, that has a healing resonant frequency like a root cellar. Because a root cellar, your tomatoes lasts 6 months. Your potatoes up to a year, apples a year or even longer. Why is that? Because they're in bioresonance with the floor, with the soil, with the Schumann resonance, everything that emits life. You know, take an apple.
Would you say that it would also be the negative ions that
ions
that come out of that
Schumann
down in the earth, the Schumann resonance
and magnetic resonance.
Of course,
that keeps food alive.
What we're speaking about is actually how to preserve. Root cellars were used by, well, I had a root cellar when I was a teenager. When I lived up in Chicago, there was a root cellar on the property, and it was just amazing. I loved the smell, just being down in it. It had a musty smell, but it smelled like life.
Yeah.
It had a life smell. Hard to put my finger on exactly what it smelled like, but it felt really, really good to be in.
The musty smell for me was like kind of like old, wet soil.
Correct. Yeah, that's what it smelled like, but it was.
In Germany, they do for healing. They put people in root cellars. Asthma disappears. They put people in salt mines. And why is it disappearing? The natural mineral distribution in the earth, the bioavailability of the minerals in the soil, highly photonic, negative ions and magnetics are undisturbed, and your body can heal. That's when those who read the Bible say, 1 step towards God, and he comes 3 steps towards you. It's not God, it's coming, it's nature and your cellular memory that knows how to heal when you introduce healing to the self.
Absolutely.
That's what the metaphor means.
I feel, though, that putting a label on nature seems to work for people. Using the word God, I was against using the word God personally for a while because I was sort of trained out of that by not wanting to offend people. And now I invoke the word God and I use the word God. Why? It's what I call my higher powers. And I use the word powers as in plural because I exist multidimensionally at higher levels of existence in other bodies simultaneously to this one. And I consider myself to also have past lives and future lives that are going on concurrently in this now because there is no time, not in what we consider time. I say time to me personally is just a construct that was invented by man in this particular solar system. We have come up with an idea that there's a past, it's only my memory of it, and there's a future, it's my projection of what it could be, as opposed to right now is the only time that there ever has been. And I spoke about this in a couple of my other Sedona Galactic Guidance. Circling back to, in this now, the actual demonic possession, because I'm helping a woman rid her daughter of demonic possession. She hears voices, and by the way, I heard voices it required some alchemy to hear voices, but put some marijuana, alcohol, and methamphetamine hydrochloride together in this vehicle, and I was able to tap into a lot of different things that were going on because this physical reality is surrounded by a non-physical reality that is just a huge interplay. It's larger than this. This is like a tiny subset of the real reality that exists around us. And
like
that's my research has brought me to that.
Well, that woman that you're helping, that I would suggest like enema and all of those tinctures,
Absolutely.
like ASAP.
Yep.
And you will see it'll change. It has to do with probably, let's say somebody is very skinny, I don't know what you call it, scrawny, like and it's always like
gaunt,
gaunt and sarcastic,
kind
of a little bit like Gollum, and then like that's why they do that. They steal all your data. Everybody's surveilling you, and you get a little paranoid. Well, you have trichinosis. Even though, despite the fact that yes, we don't know how safe our data is. But be safe in your mind, anything that runs the current here is not scannable by no machine on earth but source code.
Amen. Yeah. That's
so what you're agreeing to, you're letting in. So basically you can see people that are, let's say, narcissistic. They have a parasitic behavior of needing energy because that's what the parasite taught them. And that's how they survive.
And do you find, this is just my interpretation of or overview of my experience in this vehicle, but do you find that we associate all the thought streams going by as ourselves, as opposed to the thought streams are just literally coming in from source.
Most thoughts are not,
and it could
yours.
Be sources from any source. It could be from my gut. It could be from God. It could be from again, without having to put a label on it. It comes from sources that are not who I am as a soul. It's just thoughts, and I pick and choose what I actually focus on, and that defines my reality. And then I actually say, what does that reality mean to me? I'm the one that chooses that. So whatever that reality is makes my experience in this vehicle.
Choosing with awareness from source makes you a sorcerer.
Well, there you have it.
See,
the sorcerer comes out. So, by the way, I love that. Of course, I'm sourcing.
You're sourcing.
100%. And again, I would love that. I use the word "I," but I'm being guided by something that is non-physical that I can't see, but it's pure guidance. If I just move my fear-based ego out of the way, put it in the back seat, and say, "Oh, kick back there." Source is going to drive today. God's going to drive, whatever. And, and the ego seems to want to put up its feet and go, well, all right, I'm being chauffeured around, I'm a big shot. And
when the ego is not in healthy boundaries, people say, oh, I'm egoless. That's also crap. Yeah. You need ego to force energy outside. To express yourself, you need ego. If you paint a painting, that's energy guided outward. But if you are edging God out, then it's in reverse, and then you're misusing it.
It's the contrast.
So have the ego in control, the lower self in agreement with the higher self. And a lot of people confuse God with higher self or oversoul. The perfect version of you is what people think is God, but it's not source. It's not supreme, high, royal, whatever. And God is not male or female. Well, a lot of people don't know the difference. Is what we call God is usually trying to find our higher self. So what you're guided by is your higher self first. It's like a proxy server to source. And then comes the router and whatever equipment that you're using now, Mac or iOS or Android, whatever model you use. And that source is from what's given from there. And the more in tune we are with the oversoul, the less parasites have a chance to run the ruckus and bring stuff here. There are theories that certain parasites that are on this planet are not even from this dimension. All they can do here is use us and source us to survive, but that in the end kills the host. They're all finite. We are Eternals. Hence the new movie. Like, we are the Eternals. We are gods in training. And we have to make sure. We have to make sure that we are not getting corrupted by impure spirit forms that come in form of a bacteria. And Einstein warned, he said the greatest foe of mankind is a microbe, not the weapons they build.
Have you heard of Hulda Clark?
Yes.
She wrote a book called The Cure for All Cancers, and then she changed it to The Cure for All Diseases. And her whole whole premise was every cancer cell she ever found had parasites in it. Every cancer cell had
It's a
parasites
petri
in
dish.
it.
It's a
And
petri dish.
yeah, she and again, she was ostracized as an MD.
Of course.
She was the whatever you want to call the good or bad folks. But
There's a consensus in the status quo in the committee of
course.
MDs, and
Yeah.
if you break that, they'll take your title.
of course,
Very
well,
simple.
even now saying to prescribe ivermectin or hydrochloroquine, one can lose their. I heard something that one can lose their medical license in. I don't know if that's every state or some states, but one can lose their medical license for prescribing something that is, again, is gonna cure the viruses. So
It's interesting the mechanics that we observe.
yeah,
I heard that they are trying to remove NAC, an amino acid, from the shelves
hmm
because it's been referred to after the Kool-Aid jab
hmm
to remove the heavy metal debris that comes with that.
that comes with
So
like graphene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you, sorry that this is
It's all good.
happening right now.
Yeah. Well, if you can find your phone, just go ahead. And,
I'm gonna just turn it off
yeah.
real quick. It's probably
No worries.
other parts.
We're being called by galactic
Yeah.
citizens.
galactic citizens here.
Yes. So
So there's always something.
Yeah.
With people, and you can edit it, right?
again, I wouldn't edit it
Oh,
because
okay, then never mind.
again, there's no reason to edit it. I think
Okay.
it's part of the program. I'll find out what it was that you just said, and then when it rings,
Yeah.
it's it usually is an acknowledgement from my higher powers are saying, listen to what just happened with what you just said.
Yeah.
If you can self-observe and observe at the same time.
Yeah. So basically, certain things that are not on the main radar, I investigate.
Mhm.
Like Dr. Bruce Lipton has healed people after cancer, not having to have chemo. I heard 2,000 individuals that took flaxseed oil or linseed oil, as in having a liquid form of vitamin C, and that basically eats cancer cells.
This is Bruce Lipton, you said?
That's Bruce Lipton, yeah. And I read the report. There was another Dr. Ragnar from India who worked in the pharmaceutical industry who cannot release his papers because they are all against him. He created a product called the nanosoma. And he realized that an ancient molecule of an unrefined sugar corrects your entire DNA and surveillance systems of your immunology, healed thousands of kids in India, probably including the Kool-Aid virus. But when certain channels, like they can't televise, they can't say it, or channels are being censored. So
But go ahead. I'm just gonna ask this question. Do you find, like most people that'll be watching this, the audience, that there is, without question, there is a push to control the narrative of information, so people can regain, I'm going to call it, sovereignty over their own bodies, over their own lives. It's like stay in this line and just keep going the same direction. Follow the leader. It's like it's almost programmed into the construct. And it's as if people are afraid to move out of, and instead of they're just, I'll stay in line instead of spread out. And I find it so fascinating to observe how, when I awoken, and that was back in the 90s, we've been duped with information. There have been people controlling this planet's hegemony. That's the dominant ideology, but the hegemony of this planet.
And they say there's no law that says that you have to speak the truth in the media. There's no law that states you have to tell the truth when in media. So you can't prosecute them if they're lying. That's very funny.
Again, that's an incredible. Well, it's incredible that we're growing through this, because I don't believe. I mean, ultimately, the saying, there's just one being having an experience of being separate in different vehicles, bodies here on planet Earth, playing out this whole universal construct. But I align with even a lot of mainstream physicists. that we're plugged in somewhere else into these bodies, and that this is just a holographic kind of movie set that we're all playing this game out in.
Yeah.
But we're kind of
I think awakening is understanding the program codes and understanding that you at any time you can be in any dimension with your consciousness. You're free, actually. There is no limit.
absolutely, yeah.
And that's what we're here to figure out.
Yeah.
Not having to die and being born in amnesia, and having to figure out over and over and over.
Yeah, repeat that cycle over and
So
over. Yeah.
transcend this mess and understand what you're in, and free yourself by educating yourself.
Yeah.
But back to the demonic possession.
Educating ourselves with the mainstream media, or educating ourselves outside of the mainstream media?
Outside of the lamestream.
The lamestream, yeah. Okay.
Away from.
I just have to say that's all of my information came from this bookcase, that bookcase.
You have
It
to
came
look at
from
what
reading
everybody
books,
else
but
is
today
doing.
I can look it up online.
Yeah. Look at books that not many look at, and you'll find fortunes.
Yeah.
Watch channels that don't have 90 million views, and you find fortunes.
Of course.
So I always say jokingly, stay away from the lamestream and quackademics.
Yeah.
Because they're leaning on models of elusive constructs where they don't have a shred of evidence.
Yeah.
And not to go into too deep in conspiracy, nobody has ever shown the AIDS virus with a microscope. Back then, they said it came from a bat. Remember, the 5th of November. And then when the Kool-Aid came, they said it came from a bat. It's the same narrative. People forget, you get duped again. And nobody has produced a retrovirus under a dark field or whatever microscope you have that says this is definitely it. And there were court cases even where in court they lost. There are lawsuits going on as we speak in cases where I'm glad I'm not in that, where others fight that fight, and I thank them for doing that.
God bless you all for your...
That lose house, wife, and whatnot to go through it, where they can't produce an image. So all you see online of the imagery of the so-called Kool-Aid virus is CGI. There's nothing real there. I believe people get sick. Yes.
Yeah.
I believe the immunology of the human race is corrupted because our food is processed. Which brings me back to our demonic possession.
Demonic possession, right? I was going to say, I know we'll circle back here.
Yeah, circle back to anything that gets shut down and control the narrative is controlled by those parasites that want to run the narrative, not by humans. Any human prosecuting somebody else for speaking the truth, but somebody has the evidence that they can heal with something that doesn't make that old narrative money, you have a possession. You're running Kabbalistic and archonic behavior by still running that program. And that is stored in the Akashic with everybody. And there's no escape for the soul. This time we're ascending. I don't care if you are high up ranking or covert operations or spiritual light worker. We are being evaluated by our oversouls and the collective of oversouls with everything that's being done. And everything is recorded. And if people don't get that straight, they have a lot of karma to handle. As in repercussions of not making a divine choice.
I tell my girlfriend, because again, there's a couple camps where I don't want anybody to know anything about me, because if they know this about me, they can harm me in some way. And then there's my camp, which I say, I want everybody to know everything about me so I can be completely transparent, so you can't use anything that I'm doing against me ever again, period. And I got a great download half a decade ago. I got this, like, my higher self says, I know everything about you. What are you afraid of everybody else knowing everything about you? So you can be on every single app. You can actually have everybody have your email address. Maybe my passcodes probably aren't smart to have. Everybody have them, but from the law of attraction point of view, I believe that if one is centered in I'm a sovereign being here in this physical vehicle on planet Earth, and this is who I am. Everything supports that if one stays in that transparent, fearless point of view.
Yeah, basically fearless without being ignorant.
Without being ignorant. Thank you. That's very well said. So
be aware of what's going on. I tell people that the greatest defense that you can have, or protection, is not calling in the angels and calling in the ascended masters and everybody else that you want to call in that you have so disconnected from because you think you need to call them in. They're always there. is being aware of what store are you walking into, what are you subscribing, what's happening behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz. You know who's running the mechanics of what you think you should follow, and what authority tells you what to do, and what's made comfortable for you to do, and what is made uncomfortable, and why is that? And you cannot let anybody dictate your freedom to choose. Free will. And this is what we're in here with. There's a lot of people in the system, what we're seeing right now, that are dark spirited enough to believe the Kool-Aid story. They want to drink it, they want to inject it. That's their choice and their experience. And there's those who live their lives, they have the awareness of what's going on. They're aware that they're eternal beings and they're sovereign entities in here. All you need is this. You don't need a sovereign passport, and that's recreating what has been created before. Or chasing cryptocurrency to escape the regular currency. The current C will always be what the current C is. However you resource that and whatever you use, it's always the same thing. And see, now they're taxing crypto. So this is a false idea of we're escaping currency. There's always going to be exchange. The universe works in universal exchange. I think we have to figure out now that we've been manipulated by mind-controlling entities for thousands of years.
Do you believe, this is just a quick question, do you believe that it's possible that some of the gut bugs that we have that are not friendly could possibly be artificial intelligence?
Yes.
Yeah, that's, again, I have so
Watch
much...
the new James Bond.
Does it validate that?
It talks about exactly what's going on.
Okay, good.
And some insane person trying to basically do it to the entire planet. Like genetically modified viruses that can be harmless to you, but to a relative, they can be deadly.
Isn't it interesting?
And you can't get rid of them because they mount themselves to your cell. Nanobots.
But isn't it interesting how, and again, for those that don't believe this, it's okay. But again, I've found enough of validation that there are people that, one, believe that Satan's the good guy, or that there's Church of Satan, and they believe that the darkness is the good guy and that the light is the bad guy. That's from just an observation. Again, I don't believe that there's a good guy or a bad guy. I believe there's choices.
There's
that
choices,
we
there's
that we all
misconceptions.
make.
What people don't understand, Satan and Shaitan, it was or Shatan or Satan is the original name of Enlil. The Sumerian name of Enlil is Satan, and that means Lord of Command.
Yeah. And who's Enki? What is his
Enki is
name?
the brother.
Yeah, the brother, of course. Yeah.
And he was called the devil because he didn't obey his brother, who was a tyrannical little son of a gun.
So, and that's why it got flipped.
Yeah.
Basically, the story got flipped.
Yeah, so the snake wasn't a demon. The snake was actually Ea whispering to the slaves in the Garden of Eden, hey, you're actually free. My brother's running a number on you. And you have genes from the heavenly realms. We don't run you. We modified you, but we don't own you. Yeah. You're actually free.
Yeah,
and that upset everything.
And that's, as you said, that's the serpent. That's Enki.
That's Enki.
Who genetically put all the upgrades in humans.
So we can free ourselves.
So we can free ourselves, of course.
And basically, Enki, who is Satan, said, "Don't trust my brother. He's the devil." And devil means Diabol.
Yeah.
And Diabol means Dea Abaelaides, my brother who fled to the Pleiades after he corrupted me. That's the original Sumerian translation. People are lost in translation.
Yeah.
So the God of the Bible that people worship is the tyrannical son of Marduk, Enlil.
Yeah.
This is Enlilian, and that is Lord of Command, means Satan.
Yep.
First there was the Word, and the Word was with God. That's what people worship.
Yeah, I still use the word God. I still use the word God for prime creator, and that's what I invoke when I use the word God. So not the God of the Bible. And the reason I say, and again, I'm not disclosing that I dispute the Bible or what it has to say.
Well, the
That
Bible took it
it's-
from the Sumerian text and they flip it.
Of course.
If you read original Sumerian text, you will read the same translation, and then if you read the King James version,
Yep.
King James, witch hunter and pedophile,
Of course.
read the
Yeah.
biography, please.
Of
That
course.
dude translates your Bible.
And he took all the books out of the Bible, which really, like the
Yeah.
book that I love is the Gospel of Thomas, where Jesus says, "Those who seek, let them keep seeking until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed. As they are disturbed, they will marvel, and then rule over all." Meaning that we will have our own self-rule. So we'll be sovereign as far as our own physical bodies.
Even what's his name? Alistair Crowley knew that. Let he lay the law, so it shall be the law. If you lay a law by your own rules, that will be law.
Mm.
Depending on how many follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yep.
can be used
Yep.
for good, or it can be used for evil.
Sure.
But this is when you create a certain set of rules for things that work, that becomes a reality as a manifestation.
Mhm.
Word is manifest.
Mhm.
Word is bond. Why do you call that spelling? Webster Dictionary. Web and stir.
Mhm.
We're confused with words that are dictated. And that's what that thing says. Webster Dictionary.
Well,
Fixed, words that stay, and that cannot be the truth.
yeah, but how about when people have a work week? Are they weak when they work, and then they have a weekend? Again, I think that it should be a strong end.
Yeah.
I mean, I realize that many of the vibrational frequencies of words have been turned around and kind of used against. Well, it's as if we're using it against ourselves to finally wake up and go, we're
Well,
not going to
it's-
do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, use winged words and uplifting words to create that.
Of course.
And people say that's the devil, as above, so below. But not as above, so below. The Egyptians taught this, and the ETs and the influential cosmic ancestral lineage said, as in a heavenly faculty, so it should be embodied in the vessel.
Absolutely.
That's the original idea.
Yes.
And we got so separated that we lost ourselves in letting basically the crap in, you
Mhm.
know, and that in Atlantis, if people don't know, watch Michael Tazarian. There's a story where they had to create an artificial Merkabah system saying, we don't need the divine source codes. We're going to open gates to other realms technologically. And they opened gates to lower realms. And I think that's where mosquitoes, parasites, or rodents, all of those that are more parasitic and not like life beneficial came in. People say, yeah, under God, everything is the same, but you know, sometimes it's not. When not everybody makes the same choice. And I believe that at some point we let crap in.
Yeah.
We let some garbage in. A side note, when you study the Bosnian pyramids with Samos Maganic, they found runes chiseled in a rock in a gateway that was locked, and it says, we must close the gate to the heavens. We must now stick together and hold and prolong as warriors until there is time to open the gates and we can return to the heavens. We were an interstellar species once, and something came in, it got corrupted, and wars to a level where we can't even fathom what took place on Earth. Where I read in legends, cities were turned upside down.
Yes.
Like entire cities leveled and flipped and into the ground.
Well, to have cities where they find the remnants of Jericho and to find vitrification of humans and clay pottery means that it's been melted together.
Yeah.
So the only thing that can do that is extreme heat or a nuclear blast.
Yeah.
And in the Hindu Vedas, they talk about how the gods were warring and they had weapons that were as bright as the sun. That kind of stuff.
Ahura Mazda was one of the weapons.
Ahura Mazda, yes.
Was one weapon that was as bright as the sun.
Yes.
And elephants would turn to ash.
Yes.
That's written in 10,000 old scrolls. If people don't understand, these are
correct, but
these are documentations.
Right. So to believe that we all don't exist up there, to be narrow-minded enough to say that it's better to say I know that I don't know, or I don't know that I don't know, as opposed to I know for sure that I know that there's no such thing as other life out there.
Oh, that's preposterous.
But again, there are some people who believe that the Earth is still flat, that it has firmament over. There's people that believe that the Earth is only 6,300. I mean, I can't prove them wrong, but I choose to actually believe that the Earth is round and that we do have why I just have a bigger God than they have. So their God is a smaller God, mine's a bigger God, where it has the ability for me to go to another planet in the solar system, as opposed to just it's a dot up on top of the screen, which is up above.
Water drops will always form with volume.
Correct.
That beats the flatness.
Understand. And again, why
go to a flat earther barbecue and ask for a burger with no volume.
Yeah. But if the Earth is flat, why is it that my sister over in Hawaii sees sunset? She's still got light over there and it's dark here. If this thing's going all the way across,
say nothing but the devil tricking her. That's the devil is projecting an illusion, and she's falling for the crap. That's what they say.
Yeah. That's right. She's really already experienced that.
They measured the curvature of the Earth.
We digress here for just a moment. So anyway, back to the circling back through demonic possession, and because it's come up in the last 24 hours. Wherein, by the way, I'm making sovereign decisions these days not to expose myself with people that I don't choose to, who have demonic possession, and pretend that it's them who's this, and it's not them. It's because I've seen them that it's the bipolar person. I've seen the person who's this beautiful soul.
I've been in shamanic sessions where I've seen the faces shift like Rolodex.
Yep.
Vop, vop, vop. I'm like, what character am I talking to now? Holy, like, what the heck?
You know what I find is a trigger? It's control. Who's going to control how things are done?
Yeah, and in these entities, what they do is it's not like, I mean, you know, a full-on possession is when somebody's like nuts, is labeled schizophrenic, out of control, harm to himself, and go see a doctor when it's out of control and knives are flying. I say that. But the shaman would see when the entity takes over. Or let's say you're in an argument and this person is used to that spirit coming in and arguing for them because it empowers them. You become kind of like, how do you say, a little bit hardwired with your nervous system to that. Like Captain Picard and the Borg. The implants kind of begin to grow into your skull. And even when people are healed from the entity that had the control, now they need to get out of the memory residue that entity had as a hold on them.
You mean the hardwiring in the synaptic hardwiring. They have to actually get that to release itself. Now, I've discovered, this is just my...
So that's the echo.
This is my theory, but I just ask, I say, please take my physical body up to the ships and rewire it and put it back to its original out-of-the-box condition. And I've been asking that for well over a decade now. And I believe that some of the research I've done was some of the caustic substances. Methamphetamine hydrochloride is a very powerful tool to pull in things, but it also is a very caustic tool to the physical vehicle. So, and again, I still have every one of my teeth, knock on wood. I got, I got braces, but Invisalign. But I'm doing things that I could not believe that could possibly have happened had I just not asked for this help. Do you believe that we can ask for help? We got to ask, but we can ask for assistance to pull our physical vehicles up to ships and have them restored.
Yes.
Back to literally out of box condition.
Yeah, I think we're all in maintenance.
Yep.
But we not all remember that.
Say it one more time.
We're all in maintenance.
We're all in maintenance, yes.
Yeah, we all have a med team that comes and check on us.
Yep.
All of us are getting memory wiped, even those who say that this doesn't exist. And I know in the esoteric community, there's a lot of, you can say people that just con their way in by creating narratives that they have never experienced. It's sad, but when you go into your psyche, you will know who's who. Feel into somebody who had made an emotional experience with that, then you know who you're talking to. So, without saying yay or nay, you know what you feel when you're standing in front of Travis Walton. And you know damn well what you're feeling when you're standing in front of Corey Good. I don't need to say more.
Yeah.
And then you trust that, then you know who has left Earth and who has not left Earth.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Very cool. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I have been in front of both people. and again, we'll just leave it at that. But
I know what you felt. That's
100,
what I'm saying.
100%. Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you know,
So,
yeah. You'll see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
You see it in the emotional response. Either it's a cold
mm-hmm.
explanation of a storyline, or somebody who is emotional, has tears in their eyes, and they're reliving it. You know, human common sense is what rules and will win. As they said, the meek shall inherit the earth.
Yeah.
The people that were laughed at are the ones actually that know what's going on.
As a suggestion, this is what I use. I use my heart and I use my third chakra. I use those two chakras and many times put my hand here over my heart or over my third chakra, and I always have a quantum pendant over my heart. It stabilizes my auric field, but I just feel into things. I do what I learned this first from Greg Braden in a conference, but to be able to go down into coherence through the Institute of Heart Math's work, to be able to listen to my heart as opposed to listen to my mind, and that's my indicator. What do I feel? And as we in the last statements we talked about where somebody doesn't feel right, I just do this, and I get the and every now and again I'll even do a quick kinesiological test like yes or no.
And sometimes the master level is, do you feel drained after that? Did the person take something from you, or did they give you something? It should always be an exchange of both giving. And I had that with people, even with a female counterpart in the past that I was intimate with, that I thought, after the tantric act, you'd feel rejuvenated and enthralled and euphoria and ideas, and I felt completely empty. I felt drained, I felt sad, and then I saw my business, less customers, and I'm like, oh, this is really having an effect, and I could track it, without it, and then I said, okay, let's be friends and not go there, and retreated from the situation, and my business picked up, my happiness picked up, and I'm like, this is so intense. We are sensitive beings. If you reveal yourself, your aura, in intimacy with somebody that is parasitic, they will take from you what they can, whether they're aware or not. Not to prosecute or turn this into a freaking witch hunt, but if there are beings that are not good for you, detect that, learn that, and distance yourself. If people are not willing to make a change to make the better choice, which brings me to this demonic possession thing. Is what demonic possession does is we make choices out of fear and survival. You descend. You're degrading yourself.
Do you believe that it's people that have made these fear-based choices that are more susceptible to the demonic possession? Because they may have, and they
the
may
more
be
paranoid you are, the more you get sick.
Correct. That's
because
what I've discovered.
You're literally coiling. Bruce Lipton said that if you're in fear mode or fight or flight or aggressive, your DNA coils up.
Instead of uncoiling.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
It coils, it shrivels up, and your auric field goes small. But guess what? Now they can come in.
Yeah.
They have a field day now.
This leads me into the demonic possession, but you talked about archons. That is, archons are actually talked about, and aeons are talked about in the Sumerian work, or Sumerian information, and they talk about aeons being the supportive non-physical beings that surround us, and archons being the ones that feed off of the actual beings. So when somebody's DNA coils and gets smaller, do you believe they're more susceptible to be feeding these archonic energies?
Yeah, and don't make the archons so bad. Let's say the archons are like ants.
Yeah.
If there's decay, the troops will come.
Okay, then there it is. So it's not it's not like a bad thing. The archons are there for a purpose.
Yeah, they are the cleanup crew.
Yeah, they're the cleanup crew.
Yeah,
so,
but the manipulation comes in, and when the ants are in your house, in your cupboard, and everything, it's a little bit too much.
Yeah,
it's about management.
Yeah.
So when we learn to manage our energies and thought patterns and how we eat correctly, and this governing vehicle of 50 trillion cells, then we have harmony in our community within ourselves. Yeah. And when that's reflected, others can learn. and get into, I call it the Messiah resonance, which everybody has messianic codes in them, is when you are a very healthy being, you radiate and you bring that forth, and everything around you works, and everybody's blessed just sitting with you. Brings everything up. If somebody is pardon, a-hole, and is sarcastic and has negative stories, and every time why something shouldn't work, or why you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't buy here, reads every label, flips every coin, puts a tarot card on every footstep, that's very limiting, and it brings you down, and it goes into descension.
So since those characters in physical, so their temples have been raided by negative entities.
Yeah, and we let them in.
Now, the person who is the soul that's an interface with the vehicle lets them in.
Yeah.
But let's just say that I'm in my bliss mode and I'm in there. I have found in the past that it's almost like, I shouldn't call it an attack, but it's as if these other beings are doing this to see if they can feed off of this energetic field through somebody else's temple, through somebody else's vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
very,
your test to check.
it's very,
You're the
one
landlord.
one of the tests, right? One of the tests that I can tell when I'm really, really beaming is that darkness seems to, or that seems to come around and see if it can kind of drink me like a Slurpee.
Yeah, but if you shield it in a way enough, they can't.
Sure, and I do, and I especially do it, based upon humor and self-observation. Like, oh yeah, okay, I'm getting triggered. Where was that trigger? How did I install that? What fear-based idea did I have that why I needed to have a trigger?
And sometimes
over this?
people make agreements with those beings.
Sure.
They're like, oh well, if I'm an asshole, everybody's intimidated. That's empowering. So I like that thought.
Oh,
so you're entertaining that thought. You're feeding the black wolf.
These beings.
And that black wolf grows.
Correct. What I've discovered is these entities that will infect the auric field. They actually have made my body stimulated, high. I feel all about myself. It's an ego trip, but it's still, look who I am, and look who I can be. And
if you can make things work, then if you can make a divine choice, then you're going 5D.
Correct.
It's basically the oversoul has set a path for you to walk, and if you fill in the footsteps that are gold and glowing and visible in front of you, you're just filling in the blanks. You'll see how everything will work. The illusion is that it's not so. We have to struggle, and trust me, living in Sedona for 10 years, I've seen. The test is really trust your higher self. With all the foreign suggestions that they throw at you, you need to learn to trust you. And that's when Esther Hicks talks about the vortex. Vortex means being in your coherent field where you, what they call in the zone. Now try to hold that with all of the crap that they throw at traffic, somebody cutting you off, and they screaming, and you staying, keeping up the positive and upholding it. That is work, because it's a polarizing planet.
It is work, but I find it being much like a game. It's just a matter of, what does somebody flipping me off, what does that mean to me?
Yeah.
If I've got a trigger installed about what that means to me, then it actually takes work in order to overcome that trigger. When I pull out the actual plug of the trigger that I've installed myself in my own vehicle, then I could just think, oh, he's just happy and he's flipping me off. Great. I mean, I make up stories like that, and that's what happens. But quite frankly, I don't even attract that kind of vibrational frequency around me.
It doesn't really,
it seems to be pushed away.
Yeah, it doesn't really come to me.
Yeah.
Which I tell people, like, don't be ignorant for the fact when somebody spills milk, clean it up.
Absolutely.
Like I'm tired of people giving me an Ayurvedic excuse why they needed to, I don't know, kick me in the groin, make me feel that, to understand why they need to project that so I may learn. I say, never let the lesson lesser you. If I don't want to be kicked, then I'm not making myself subject to that.
Yeah.
And if somebody acts a fool, I can, if it's like to a point where it can happen, where it just comes into your aura where you're like, okay, this is not a little bit too far, you can assert boundaries. And assertiveness doesn't mean you're narcissistic. It just means your consciousness and aware about your surrounding.
Now, can a boundary be, I just won't involve myself into a situation again, walk away and be empowered by actually making the decision, thinking that I've been empowered by making decisions
Yeah.
where, oh, I don't even have to actually go and hang out here and be with these people and do all this.
Yeah.
As
Or
a-
you can say something, let's say you're in a conversation and somebody has to throw in something negative, and you can see how the faces drop and he's feeding, and you can say, why would you like look at the upset faces? Like bring it to the surface. Very embarrassing.
Yeah.
Why would you? The conversation was going fine. You drop that here. Now everybody's upset.
Yeah.
What are you getting out of this?
Yeah.
And then the person has to go like, what am I actually doing?
Yeah.
Getting out of this automated rhyme time robotic, how do you say, automated response reply system. Wake up and be aware of what are you doing right now and why are you doing it, and are you aware right now how the smiley faces went into frowny faces and you're giving your goosebump story here. Is that necessary right now? And I'm just asking. I'm saying I'm not even judging, I'm evaluating. Look at the picture and see how that feels. Let's say I want to go to the bank teller to get a credit or a loan. I'm going with a friend, and my friend pisses the bank teller off, and I walk away. I'm not getting the loan. So will I bring that friend again? No. Next time I'm going to the bank teller, perfect timing, lovely day. I get even more than a loan. I even get a bonus. You know, if that's a game people want to play.
We are almost at 3:33.
Cool.
Just throwing that out there.
So,
Again,
okay,
we're
yeah,
on
so-
11:11
So-
filming this. So
we should slowly wrap it up.
yeah, but
Not give them too much.
No, I'm just saying at 3:33. It is 3:33 again, and we're just going back to this archonic energy.
Yes.
And again, you think that kind of validates we're kind of on the same page where it's archonic energy. But the archons, as you said, are really just like the ants. They're just really, they're cleaning up all of the spill that people have made inside of their vehicle.
And we
by
made so
bringing
much spill
bringing
that they
the
think they
vehicle's
run the
vibration
show.
down. So they think they run the
They
show.
think they're on the show. That's the
Got it.
problem. And
Yeah.
when we stop creating the crap, there's no ants.
Yeah, but again, the dark. I use the word dark and light.
Yeah,
and again,
yeah,
quite frankly, I believe I exist in both realms.
Yeah. I think the misunderstanding, and maybe that helps you, dark means, for as in dark entities, meaning unconscious. Parasitic and not aware of that they're doing damage.
Yeah.
Not having the awareness. And that is what darkness is.
Yeah.
And enlightened means you knowing.
Mean that you know it.
Having the knowledge.
Yeah.
Knowledge, knowing the ledge. Like understanding, inner standing, over and outer standing, the multidimensional aspects of yourself, and you know, you've been in your basement. You know, medicinal, shamanic stuff. You take the torchlight, you go into your basement. Do I have any squatters? What's going on in my house?
Exactly. I like how you actually, as a metaphor, use the physical body as a house and go around and just how clean is your home? How tidy is your home? Is there a place for everything and everything in its place, or is everything all in a state of chaos? And then one wonders why their thoughts are in chaos, because the thoughts kind of follow the mind. And again, if the mind is part of the physical body, again, we can't help, as Bruce Lipton said, you just can't help actually taking that DNA and winding it down and compressing it and still be happy as heck. My life's the best it's ever been. I never thought it would get to this level. I've been saying that for probably a week now. When people ask, how are you doing? I'm like, I had no idea. I didn't expect for my life to be this good. But it's this good because I have this inner knowingness that, first off, there's a shift and a change that's coming that is beyond the scope of my even being able to manifest, that I'm just a vehicle having this experience. And then, of course, everything I'm attracting to my experience is teaching me how to raise my frequency. And it's
my life is
magical.
My life is the best he's ever been, and getting better every day.
Yeah, me too.
Realizing the things that I can do. Yeah. And I'm taking reference or reviewing where I was in the past, where I thought this is it. As a rap entertainer and metaphysical rap, I was in this little tiny universe of thinking rap career and how to make it there, and realizing now how limiting that was, that you can do so much more. You don't have to confine yourself to one talent. You can combine that and figure out what you're good at and realizing that we pressure ourselves and not finding that because we have to survive. So nobody has time to find themselves because you're busy surviving. And that deficit creates a split in us. And this is what the Kool-Aid era, the last 2 years, has shown us how split we are, because we don't even know who or where or how many we are and what time. And the true mystic is the one that can look into the past, see himself, look at the now, and look into the projection and realize it's all him or her. Understanding that, taking that in, and not being afraid to look into all directions of timelines of different nows. And that's the way up. That's ascension, and that's getting rid of parasites. That's being clear, thinking clear, thought management, emotional management, understanding emotions, trying to not be reactive, try to be active, and not hostile, not violent, choosing to make the better choice. And I did a video on 3D and between 3D and 5D where I'm explaining 5D is when you make the divine choice, your aura glows. The divine act brings you further up, and you begin to get bigger, and the Akashic records store more golden and positive codes of your experience. Descending is going 3D at a job that you don't like. Maybe you're together with a woman you don't like. You tell the world you have obligations, or a woman together with a partner she doesn't like. But yeah, I love him. But you hear the undertone, like you're lying to yourself while you're speaking. Here is truth. If you can't speak that for you, then you're compromising your throat chakra. How can you attract what you need when you don't mean it?
And circling back to when you said about The Exorcist, and we can kind of wrap it up with this, but you says there are many of us. So to know that there are many of us that are together as warriors of this light, there's many of us warriors, and again, to attract and bring those people into our frequency, and to know the store we're walking into when there's many of the other beings in there, to actually be able to hold the light, but also bring another light warrior in if one.
And those who can hold it will leave. Interestingly, I've seen that too. People can't hold it for long. They're at parties or at potlucks.
Oh, you mean can't?
They see that hour. It's not about them, and they can't. They're like, everybody's happy, and they're not communicating. So when you see them, and all of a sudden you see them walking out the door, not even saying goodbye.
I find it's people that are in victim consciousness, and they're in this low frequency of everything's done to me instead of everything's done for me, by me, as me, depending on where we are in the pyramid.
I watched I don't recommend this, the Hannibal Lecter series. Have you seen it? It's pretty dark.
I haven't.
But it explains that whatever happens around you, where you go and when you engage, it is your design. It's all designed by you. Even a bully, anything that you had let in or that came into your field is by design.
That's Course in Miracles. Again, the teachings,
understanding
the teachings are here. Living it is as you said.
The ego stacks. Why I didn't attract that crap? I didn't tell that dude to take $30,000 from me. I invited it.
Yep, of course. That's one thing that Pleiadians mentioned back in the 90s, is they said when you become 100% responsible, that everything you experience you created, then only then are our teachings complete, and we won't need to be here.
So basically everything, and people say, I have some cases, they're like, I'm living with my mom and everybody hates me and they're about to attack me. Guess what? It's all your design.
Yes.
Nobody's attacking you, nobody hates you. They're reacting to what you're projecting out because you're creating that because you can't feel yourself. When you stop creating that ruckus or drama around you because you have enough self-love and you can feel yourself, guess what? Everything will quiet down. And
with that, I have to say, Ra, I love you, brother, with all my heart. And again, I'm so honored that you came over.
Hey, I know you for a long time. So it's for the cause.
It's for the cause, but I've known him for a really long time, and we've discussed doing this interview. But again, it's been an absolute pleasure. By the way, I love each and every one of you with all my heart, too. Thank you for watching.
Subscribe, and I want to see at least 1,000 views on this.
God bless you all again, and again, may your day be blessed, or night, whenever you're watching this.
See you on the flip side.
Peace on earth.
Good rock and roll. We rocked it. That's a deep interview.
All right, 109.